All right, let's dive into something pretty wild. We're talking about a major public showdown between two absolute heavyweights of the U.S. government, the Federal Reserve and the Department of Justice. And believe me, this isn't just some run-of-the-mill political squabble. No, this goes way deeper, touching on fundamental questions about who's really in control of our economy.
So let's get right into it. A shocking accusation.
Okay, so things really kicked off with this bombshell quote from the man himself, Fed Chair Jerome Powell. He came out in this, super unusual video address and basically said, hey, this new threat, it's not about my testimony. It's not about Congress's oversight role. Those are pretexts. I mean, wow. Calling the official reasons a pretext? That's a big deal. He's saying flat out that what we're being told isn't the real story. And that, right there, just set the stage for this massive confrontation.
So what are we actually talking about here? Well, the Department of Justice didn't just send a strongly worded letter. No, they served the feds with grand jury subpoenas. They even dangled the threat of a criminal indictment. And the official story? It all circles back to some testimony Powell gave to the Senate Banking Committee. I mean, let's just be clear, this is not normal. Taking this kind of legal action against the country's central bank is pretty much unheard of.
All right, this is where it gets really interesting. We've got the official story versus the claim.
So you've got two completely different stories here. On the one hand, the DOJ says their investigation is all about Powell's testimony regarding this massive $2.5 billion renovation project for the Fed's DC offices. Seems pretty specific, right? But then you have Powell's side. He's saying, nope, that's just a pretext. He claims the renovation is just a convenient excuse to put the squeeze on the Fed over its interest rate decisions. So is it about a building, or is it about political power? And this quote really gets to the heart of what Powell thinks is at stake. He says, this is about whether monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. So for him, this isn't about some overpriced office building. It's about a core principle. Is the Fed going to make decisions based on cold, hard economic data, or is it going to buckle under political threats? Now, to really get why Powell is pushing back so hard, you have to realize this isn't happening in a vacuum. He sees it as part of a larger pattern of pressure.
So let's just walk through this timeline because it really paints a picture. For a while now, we've had President Trump repeatedly threatening to fire Chair Powell because he doesn't like the interest rate policy. Then in the summer of 2025, things escalate. The president accuses Fed Governor Lisa Cook of mortgage fraud and actually tries to remove her. Fast forward a bit, and in August, another governor, Adriana Kugler, just resigns. And then in February 2026, yet another, Raphael Bostic, announces he's retiring. You start to connect these dots, and it's easy to see why some are worried about a coordinated effort to pressure the Fed.
And that whole situation with Governor Lisa Cook is just wow. It's a drama in itself. The president didn't just disagree with her, he publicly accused her of mortgage fraud and tried to fire her. She fought back, suing to keep her job and calling the move unprecedented and illegal. And you know what? So far, the courts have agreed with her. Both the federal and appeals courts have sided with Cook. But it's not over. The whole thing is now headed to the Supreme Court, with a hearing set for January 21, 2026.
Okay, so we've seen the fight, we've seen the pressure, but let's take a step back. Why does any of this matter? What's the big deal about the Fed's independence anyway?
It all boils down to this one crucial concept: central bank independence. So what is that? Simply put, it's the idea that the people in charge of our country's money, the Fed, should be able to do their job without politicians breathing down their necks. They need to be able to make the tough calls for the good of the economy, not just to help someone win the next election.
I know. Central bank independence sounds like something from an economics textbook. But what does that actually mean for you?
Well, think about it this way. An independent Fed's whole mission is to keep our economy on an even keel. They're supposed to make decisions based on data, not politics, to keep inflation in check, the price of gas, groceries, everything, and to make sure the job market is strong. When politicians start meddling with that, the stability of your financial life and the whole economy really is put on the line.
So with all this pressure coming down, what's Powell's move? Well, he's standing firm. He really leaned on his track record in his address. He said, I have served at the Federal Reserve under 4 administrations, Republicans and Democrats alike. I have carried out my duties without political fear or favor. He's basically reminding everyone, hey, I've been doing this for a long time for both parties, and I've always played it straight. And then he closed with this incredibly powerful statement. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats. I will continue to do the job the Senate confirmed me to do with integrity. I mean, that is not a man who sounds like he's backing down. It's a clear message. You can threaten me, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to do my job.
So this whole thing really leaves us with a big question to think about. When our key institutions face these kinds of threats, when politics starts to creep into places it shouldn't be, who really pays the price? It's something worth considering.